your hands. It is going to be fought inch by inch, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, rooster by rooster. If you know that, we go die. Now only you, yeah. They are fighting. They are gambling for that freedom in land. Angry man, them say they no one hear them, cause you know we do the way them did it. I see you blow, blow off the innocent world. Yes, so come and save us. If we not there, we go die, yo. Cause cow ain't no get it tail. Now got the track, he fly, yo. Yes, so come and save us. If you not there, we go die, yo. Cause cow ain't no get it tail. Now got the track, he fly, yo. Think of Seseko, think of Deacon Tassang, think of Palfo, think of Mancho BBC, think of Mumi Abe. Are you ready to lay your life for Ambazonian? Oni sopti bonyo na kaniba, don't bana, baba manda like na firewood. How can we live like this? We know, Joe. If we don't there, we gon' die, yo. Cause cow ain't no get it there. Now got the track, he fly, yo. Yes, so come and save us. If we not there, we go die, yo. Cause cow ain't no get it there. Now got the track, he fly, yo.
If you are asking my personal opinion to keep Cameroon one must be divisible, because it's a cliche that Cameroon is one and indivisible, because it's not true. Culturally we are divisible, language-wise we are divisible, the law-wise we have inherited that. So anybody who says Cameroon is one and indivisible is a fallacy. And so we would have to handle that issue very squarely and objectively. And that's what I call the truth. The truth must prevail. There is no doubt that there are people of both sides, that cherish their heritage. And the only way of keeping Cameroon together is to respect the respective heritages that we do have.
Ambazonians have never been this hungry. If I am, it's because we must change course. It's over. Ambazonia will be freed by patriot volunteers who believe in freedom. Ambazonia will be freed by the daring of our people, by a leadership that understands what the stakes are, a leadership that understands the nature of the beast we are dealing with, that make decisions based on careful thought and planning and not on sentiment. Ambazonians have never been this hungry. If I am, it's because we must change course. You must change the way you think. You must change the way you approach this revolution. I said before, it's going to be a face-by-face revolution. Because I understood and I understand the nature of the beast we are dealing with. It wasn't from an abstract construction borrowed from some utopia planet. It was based on in-depth study on the nature of the beast that we've confronted for the past 30 years.
Fellow Ambazonians, good morning, good afternoon, good evening across the globe, wherever we are. Today, first of all, I am Pascal Kiki, the logistic chief of the ADF. Well, before I go live, I want to first of all give myself a moment of silence for our valiant soldiers that fell in the line of battle in the great state of Mesa. May their souls rest in power. Us who are alive, we will have to continue the battle so that those whom we have lost, their lives didn't go in vain. We owe this to them so that the dreams and aspirations that they had to ensure that Ambazonia is a free nation, we realize that. That's the task that I've left behind for us as Ambazonians. Complete. Today, like I earlier put on my profile, my Facebook profile, I'm going to discuss on a very controversial subject amongst us, both within the power structures of the ACOC and Ambazonians. My reason why I supported Donald Trump as the president, to become the president of the United States of America for the second time. Yeah, not too long ago, I had a conversation with one of my friends before and after the election. And he was like, oh, we are going to face 4 more years of turmoil. And he asked me, what do I think? I told him that I wish and pray that Donald Trump becomes the president once more. And he told me, are you crazy? I said, no. The world is driven by interest, and we go by data. We go by output. And I told him, he was an Ambazonian, and I told him that when we analyzed this war of liberation, for the past 8, close to 9 years, we can't pretend that America is the greatest nation on earth. That's a fact. Each administration comes in with their own objectives. Now, at how that administration functions and what it dish out depends on the head of that administration. They always say the uneasy lies on the head of who carries the crown. I told him that I would very much love and I pray that Donald J. Trump becomes the president of the United States of America. And he's like, you support the bigot? I said, no. I think when I looked technically, when I compared his administration and the outgoing administration, I saw how Donald Trump was humane towards Ambazonians. I measure data. I don't speak from abstract. If all of us Ambazonians have history in our minds, we will remember that when this revolution picked up, La République du Cameroon was kicked out of the AGOA. Because of the administration then. Donald J. Trump's administration kicked out La République du Cameroon out of AGOA because of the human rights violations and the abuses that he was meting on Ambazonian. It didn't just come in that easy. It is the same Donald J. Trump's administration that terminated the military cooperation between La République du Cameroon and the US for the poor management of their resources and even their training. They were like, we provide you training and weapons to fight enemies that is confronting your country, not to use it against your people. We will recall also that a lot of senators, a lot of high-level government officials visited La République du Cameroon from the United States of America during Donald J. Trump's administration to figure out a way how to come to the root cause of what was happening between Ambazonian and La République du Cameroon. We will recall also that it was during Donald J. Trump's administration that we had congressional hearings about Ambazonia. The name Ambazonia was called in their Congress. We had a lot of testimonies. Senators like Karim Bass, they visited La République du Cameroon. They came up with a fact-finding paper, position statement, that we have every right of self-determination. We're fighting for a just cause. It was still during that era of Donald J. Trump, he was already planning to target La République du Cameroon government officials on what was happening to our people. I compare administrations and how they have helped in the Ambazonian cause. We can also say that here, from the posture, Donald J. Trump during his first tenure was anti-immigrant. Ambazonians don't migrate out of the country because they hate their country. We have our resources, we have everything. It's an occupied land. And the occupier is punishing us, tormenting us, killing us. We don't want to be in America or out of our countries. We don't want to. So, even if the policies he put in place was anti-immigration, he was somehow trying to work to save his own country. On the other hand, we as Ambazonians who don't like to leave our country, a lot of us out. We are out because our land is under siege. When we rightfully obtain our independence, it's not if, it's when. We all will go back home. A lot of us who are permanent residents or who have citizens, we will go back home. That is for sure. So this is my colleague, he told me that you're supporting someone that called African nations shithole countries. I would say this. That was a blanket statement, but we should be clear enough and do some self-realization to own part of that insult because of the leadership that has been imposed on us in Africa. And I would say that statements like that he made gave Africans the mindset of start reflecting, doing self-reflection upon themselves. Through that self-reflection, we saw now that a new form of leadership started picking up in Africa. We saw the Traorés rising up, the Assimi Goitas, the Tianis, the Faye in Senegal. We saw that new leadership rising up to take control of the destiny of their countries. We might have felt a type or felt horrible about what he said, but it was for us, it was giving us a reality check that we can do better, to have better homes. He knows we are very resourceful. That was a call for us to start taking accountability for some of what is going on in the continent. I can't say that it's solely our fault. But it was a wake-up call. And since then, we have seen a different form of leadership in Africa, with the notion of Africa for Africans. We felt bad about the insult, but the reality was there. So when I look at the data, compare the posture, the outgoing administration did nothing to support our cause. Assuming or granting a TPS, temporary protection status, it wasn't the solution to us, not been the solution to our problem. We don't want to drain our country from our people. The solution was making sure that they address the root cause of the problem, which is a black-on-black colonization, an annexation of a territory that has its international boundaries. There is no legal binding document that holds the whole Cameroon and Ambazonian together. There is none. We should be very clear about that. So when I told him that I supported Donald J.R. Trump and I voted for him, it was because of this. My own personal interest was looked at during his first term of office. Till now, Cameroon has not been the Republic of Cameroon has not been readmitted into the AGOA club. Till now, the military cooperation between the US and Cameroon is inexistent. He stopped it. Let's also remember that during that period, there was a time where weapons that were sent to the Republic of Cameroon to fight Boko Haram, they were taken in and coming towards our territory. Words got out, and within 2 days, those weapons were turned back and taken completely out of our territory. All that happened during the Donald Trump's administration. Four-star general was also testifying in the Congress on what was happening in our territory. Those are indicators that I used, and I said, hopefully, with the incoming administration, they are going to look squarely and see what is happening in our territory, and our expectation is something good is going to come out. That's why I told him I supported Donald J. Trump administration. And I asked him, you stand behind, what did the outgoing administration do to our people? Nothing. But when you see what, just within the 4 years that he was, and I suspect that if he had lasted for 8 years, continuous would have been in a different spot. Because during his own administration, we saw attention was placed on our situation. And that's why I told my friend that that is the purpose of me or supporting him becoming one. I don't, let's understand also that there's one thing that we have to understand when we look at the American politics. The mainstream media was not fair to him. They pinned him down on certain comments that he made at a certain point in time during his, before he became a politician. He had also supported the Democrats at one point in time. But the mainstream media wasn't fair to him. They twisted his words. They gave him all sorts of labels. But he is who he is. Love him or hate him, he says things the way he sees it. So when I look at the data and I see what happened during his era, and I am looking at what happened during the Biden era administration, I could see a big difference. That's why, on my own personal interest, I had to even vouch and protest for him. With a hope, an aspiration, and expectation that something big or something new can change the dynamics as far as our situation is concerned. We don't want to go out of our country. We want to stay in our country. Let's be clear about something. There's always been a foreign mind, a terrible type of mindset that the Republicans are anti-black, they are anti-African. But when you look at it historically again, you will see that there are Republican administrations that have done a lot of good to African countries. Let me pull up a statistic on what you would see as far as George Bush Jr., what he did to Africa that no president in American history had ever done. Let me show this particular, share this particular stuff on the screen. If you can see, this is White House Bush records. President George Bush global health initiatives are saving lives around the world. Look at what he did to Africa. Let me scroll down. In July 30th, 2008, George Bush signed a legislation to reauthorize PEPFAR, authorizing an additional $48 billion over the next 5 years to combat global HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria in Africa. This is what he did. He has had a long track record in helping African countries. This is one of the biggest help that you could receive from American government. If you go to his page, look at things leading the global response to the crisis in Darfur. He set committees to resolve the Darfur crisis. There's just a lot that the Republicans have done. I don't want to, if you go to economy, if you open this page, you will see the amount of work that a Republican president has carried out, known in history, did what George Bush Jr. did to Africa. The level of initiative, I don't really want to take much time in this video to show you. He's one of the presidents in the United States of America that has done the most to Africa. He was a Republican. Ronald Reagan also helped South Sudan to become an independent nation and helped them during the reconstruction process. in building their government, a Republican government. So when you look at it, we should get out of that mindset. And if you look at even Trump during his first tenure, you realize that it was during his first tenure that cops, unscrupulous cops, were locked up at an unprecedented level. Prosecutors that were racist or criminal prosecutors were locked up during Donald Trump's era. A lot of cops were jailed during his era. Those who were, breaking the laws. A lot of black businesses picked up during his era. They made a lot of gains. But the media will not present that or show that to you. When I look at all that, and I also take a look at the Ambazonian crisis, and I see which administration, comparing the outgoing administration and this administration, and who did what, the Ambazonian cause. He did a lot. The Cameroon economy is suffering, one of the Cameroon economy is suffering the most because they are out of the AGOA club. And Donald Trump kicked them out. His administration kicked them out. People may say that American foreign policy is independent of the administration. No. The administration defines the foreign policies for that period. So when I list out the things that he did, the number of congressional hearings they had in relation to Ambazonian crisis during his era, the fact that he stopped the people coming from using American-made weapons meant for Boko Haram to use it on Ambazonian. The fact that we had a lot of high-level American senators and government officials coming to the Republic of Cameroon to talk about our issue. The fact that he also stopped military cooperation with the Republic of Cameroon, still based on their abuse, human rights abuse, and the abuse of Ambazonian. The fact that he was prepared to target the Republic of Cameroon government officials, go after them, makes me to think that his administration will do better for Ambazonians. That's why I told him that I supported him. I go by facts. Nothing did move for these past 4 years in the Biden administration. Nothing consequential did move. He says it the way he sees it. My hope and wish is that things change for the better. When I talk about that, I look at data, I compare results, I compare output. The output as far as Ambazonian crisis is concerned during the Donald J. Trump era, we had progress. Our issue was on the limelight. They were talking about our issues in very high quarters. They had congressional hearings. They had senators visiting our land. They had high government officials talking more about our issues. Thibault Nagy was part of Trump's administration. There was a lot of emphasis being placed about Ambazonian crisis during the Trump era. The military cooperation with the Republic of Cameroon stopped because of his abuses, the abuse of the Republic of Cameroon on Ambazonia. There was more to come before his presidency was cut short. The next administration that came in did nothing for Ambazonia. All he did was encouraging the continuous, fleeing of our people out of our land. We don't want to flee our land. We want our land to be free. We need that stamp for our land to be free so that we stay in our land. TPS has not been the best solution for us. A free Ambazonia will make a lot of us pack our bags and go back home, where we'll leave Ambazonia just for studies, business purposes, vacation, with our dwelling places our home. While we continue to fight, we think and we continue to hope this coming year is going to be a good year for us and the years ahead. We look at it from data, history. That's what I told my colleague, my friend. As we continue, we are fighting, let me say this, we are fighting a very just war that you don't have to hide to talk about it. Ambazonia is an occupied territory. We have every right to fight for self-determination to push the occupiers out of our land. We are doing it unapologetically. We are not scared. We will not be bullied. We are ready to go down and cover the whole 9 yards to free our land. And the hope is our ardent hope. They say hope is not a strategy, but that a new eyes can be put on our situation, and better results can come out. But besides that, Ambazonians, our freedom is in our hands. We will have to chart the pathway to our freedom, and the outcome of our land will be determined by us. We will be a land of win-win. Whatever structures we are putting in place, and we'll be open for business with every nation on earth, as long as it's a win-win scenario, where Ambazonian interests will be looked after primarily. Hopefully, things change for the better. I want to say this. As we move into 2025, the liberation tax for 2025, there are preparations for it to kick off. So we continue to sustain the revolution on the ground and in the diaspora. This is a battle that you should fight with your eyes open, your head high. Stand and battle and fight. Stand and fight like Americans who said they will give them liberty or death. We've taken the mantle and we are not going to change course. It will never be business as usual. Let's stay the course. And before I sign off, one thing should be clear. I want to say this to the Norwegian government. If you claim you are a land of law, our leader is languished in your dungeon. You have nothing against him. It is time to save face and release our leader. We never saw you calling out like the people of Cameroon for the crimes against humanity that are perpetrated in our land. You made no statement about that. You have a refugee relief center that you can gather facts from them. You have not done that. But you pick up a leader who is protecting his people and jail him. You were once under occupation, the occupation of the Nazis in Germany. You fought their occupation. You know what it means to be an occupied land. We have been under siege for the past over 60 years. It is high time we release our leader. You have nothing against him. Stop grasping for straws and release our leader. Fellow Ambazonians, we will keep on fighting boldly and daringly, unapologetically, till our land is free. We owe this to the fallen heroes, and we owe this to the future generations to come. Ambazonia will be free by any means possible. Thank you. My next outing will be addressed, will be directed on Ambazonians' sons and daughters who find themselves fighting for the occupier and participating in raining bullets on us Ambazonians. That will be my next outing. I will address it unto you specifically to those Ambazonian soldiers, Ambazonian sons and daughters within the Cameroon military structures, being used being used to kill their own people. I'll have a conversation with you in my next outing. It is time you start doing reality check, because there will be no truth and reconciliation in Ambazonia when our land is free. Thank you. Stay hopeful, resilient, and focus in the liberation of Ambazonia. Our forefathers took the risk to leave the Enugu house and came back to our territory to chart a pathway to build our land. That was their task. They gave us the blueprint to free our land. It is now our time. It is our own task to do the freeing of our land, so that the future generation will come and live in prosperity. We are not going to shortchange our independence. We are not going to outsource it. We have to free our land. This generation, this is our responsibility. Freeing Ambazonia is this generation's responsibility, wherever you are across the globe. Take a good look, closer look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what is your role? Some of us at the beginning of this revolution, they made a mockery of the Fonchas, how they were full and put. Yeah, but I give them the credence and the credit for creating a blueprint for our motherland. Are we going to be laughed upon by our children, our future generations, when they take over the mantle to continue this battle that we never did our task? Because we have everything that it takes to seize our land from the occupiers. We refuse to hand over this battle into their hands. There was a generation that laid the blueprint and took the risk. They would have been killed, they would have been slaughtered, but they were not scared. They laid down the blueprint for our land, Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. So our task is to free the land, and the future generation will take it to the highest level of prosperity. So we cannot outsource or mortgage our task. We cannot outsource it to anybody. We cannot postpone it to the future generation. Then they will laugh at us. It is our current, present-day responsibility to free Ambazonia. And we will do it by any means necessary. Thank you. Let's stay the course with all confidence and unapologetically. Ambazonia will be free by any means necessary.